Welcome, all those tuning in tonight. I am Spiritual Alchemist, Misti Cooper, a worldwide energetic healer. You will hear me confess how spirit seduces me daily and why spirituality is such a turn-on for me. Sitting next to me is a true Renaissance woman, an incredible light being, soul photographer, Rebecca Drew. Rebecca has the gift to capture your soul and show the world your essence. Everything she does comes from her heart and why I love her so. During this hour, we're transmitting the vibrations to change your mind and your world, cause
this is how we fucking party.
our goal is to transform lives with love, and that's what we believe a party is all about. So sit back, open your minds, and open your hearts to a new way of being and experience the spiritual ecstasy of your own heart.
If you have eyes to see.
Hey, well, that was great applause. Hi, Tony Sweet.
How you doing?
Mwah.
Mwah.
Fantastic. Love you.
Love you too.
Well, I want to welcome all who are tuning in tonight, and those of you watching as well. I'm Misti Cooper, Spiritual Alchemist, a worldwide energetic healer. And over here, she's going to pop into camera frame. Bam! This is a true Renaissance woman, Rebecca Drew, and she is a soul photographer. And I know I'm not supposed to say it, but she's also a medical intuitive.
Yes, but don't come and ask me what's wrong with you, because I won't tell you.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go back into the womb. I love you, John. I'm sorry. You can blame Tony for that one.
Oh, I'm sure.
We're so we're so excited to be here for the Conscious Life Expo, and we've already ran into several people that we know, and we're very, very lucky to have two prestigious guests on this show. I'm super excited.
So am I.
I know you are. Sitting next to me is the legendary sound healer and angel medium, Stewart Pearce. Woo! Traveling all the way from the UK, is this correct?
Absolutely.
And you just got in yesterday?
No, I flew in the day before. I was filming most of yesterday. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
What were you
absolutely.
filming?
This is a hidden project called The Illumined Ones. All about angels. Very exciting. So I came in especially. But I was a little bit jet lagged, so my head was going, anyway.
Your voice is doing things to me.
Well, this show is called Spiritual Ecstasy, so I'm hoping something's doing something to you. And sitting next to Stewart is a very good friend of mine, Philip Garo Dorian, who also is an angel medium. And welcome, Philip. It's so good to see you. And you're in from San Francisco, correct? Yeah, Philip and I go back. We met at this little place in Northridge. We were actually making orbs. Do you remember that? We would gather on the full moon, and we were with about 10 or 15 like-minded people, and we would collect the orbs on the full moon.
And I would capture bodies with tattoos.
That's right. You captured my body with the tattoo.
Yes,
what
I
you
did.
But that's how we first met, and we just hit it off. And I'm so glad you're here. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
And the really cool thing, Stewart being here, is how we got turned on to Stewart and his work. Rebecca and I travel the world with a crystal skull, healing people and healing the planet. We happened to be in Ireland. We flew over to Dublin, and
We're at the Hilton.
Hilton doing the summer solstice, and we were like getting into a festival with the druids and the pagans, and loving life. And there happened to be this mystical bookstore that was just, and I forget the name of it. Do you remember?
It was just the Hilton
It's right by the church, isn't it? Right
Yeah.
by,
Yes, it's called the Hilton Open Studio.
Okay.
Head of Tara, there we are.
All right. So then after we were involved with the little festival, little ceremony, we went down there and we were walking around, and this was when Rebecca had just found out that she was Atlantean. I see the cards, and I'm all like, oh my God.
The first oracle, the Angels of
I'm
Atlantis,
all,
brought out.
Yes, Angels of Atlantis. We saw it sitting there.
She said I had to have it.
And I picked these up. I said, you must have these. And that's how we
That's how it all
got.
started. Isn't that amazing? So it's
Yeah.
a sort of 6 degree of separation, except it was etheric or celestial.
Oh, look, it was just
And
the-
it would have to be on the heel of Tara, wouldn't it?
Of course it would. I mean, look, the
One of those
universe.
sacred mounds. And of course that whole section of the Republic, as we now call it, the Republic of Ireland, is a high escarpment of Atlantis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Tara itself.
Wait,
was
what
one
did
of
you
the
just say? I missed that.
that Tara was a high escarpment of Atlantis. And it's connect with the Larimar Caves in the Dominican Republic, which I also have great connection with. So
Oh,
I
that's
should be
where-
there at a conference. Misti
Is that where
conference
you
this
told
summer.
us that we were supposed to go?
Did I?
Well,
I
he's
think
not going
it
to.
was Egypt.
He's not going to
No,
remember
we
all
said
Egypt.
you told Egypt, but she's supposed to find an amethyst
skull in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's right.
But it was
No,
a
that's
reading.
right, that's right,
But
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. After we found these cards and we loved them so much, and
Bless you.
they resonated with us. I mean, the vibration of this is really high level vibration and so accurate that it really it prompted us to make a phone call or send an email. I can't remember, and we booked private sessions with
That's
Stewart.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And very
That's
insightful.
when we were in Ojai.
Yeah, we were in
Yes,
Ojai.
when
We
you
were
when you
traveling
pulled me
then.
away to get me out of town.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Another story.
Yeah, we won't
Yes.
talk about that.
That was great though. It was great.
So now, beyond this deck, I see that there's another one that was downstairs that unfortunately I need to go buy because they're so
Please do.
fantastic.
Well, I
so
think we
can
should
you
gift you one, actually.
can you explain to us the difference
Well,
between the decks?
This is the first. So this in essence was in use during the great civilization of Atlantis. So if we go back, it's about 50 or 60,000 years old. So it was used during the latter period. The second oracle is when the angels gave me their hearts, and so they gave me their hearts in sigil forms, these mystical symbols that actually hold the entity of, hold the energy of the entity, or the signature note, if you like, of the entity. And so I created the Angel Heart Sigils oracle. So this is designed to really activate feeling energies, feeling being the language of the soul, from a left brain point of view. And the sigil oracle is designed to open up heart energy from the right brain point of view, so that we move into absolute supercoherence. So if you like, the pyramid above us is the pyramid below us, from the two hemispheres right into our heart. So, there's the very profound sequence of geometric or numerical understanding behind it. There are 44 cards in both oracles, and 44 denotes the number of spiritual purity in classical numerology. But we also know it's associated with Atlantis. It's a master number. But it also denotes the 44 codons of DNA in our bodies that are waiting to be woken up, because we're only living 20 of the 64.
Oh,
So
I
it's
can't
designed for us to really be buoyant with our ascension process.
Oh, I like that. We always want to vibrate higher. Matter of fact, for the people that are listening right now, if you saw the handsomeness that was sitting right here beside me, your chair would be vibrating just as much as mine is about right now. We're talking about vibration. I mean, yeah. Well, you're beautiful.
Bless
I mean,
you.
yeah. Wait till people. You must watch us on YouTube, just so that you can see these lovely gentlemen and
And I'll be
really get
posting some
into
photos.
the soul of who they are and what they're saying. Because you both are beautiful. So tell me, Philip, with your angel readings, how do you kind of go about what you're doing now since you're in San Francisco?
Yeah, well, essentially what the work, as Sue was talking, and you're so eloquent and beautifully spoken, I love it. You're practicing and doing this for a long time. I love his work. I believe we're all aspects of Source, and the work we're doing is, I feel like, a collective work. And we're here as incarnated angels, incarnated light workers coming here to bring in different aspects of what we've come in to remember fully from the soul, and incarnating all these beings of love and light, the archangels and angels of light, to come in and bring in this information. As we were talking about the DNA, I felt it spinning up. Mm-hmm. And I was actually checking in myself, like, oh, how many of those have activated? I was feeling into it. Mm-hmm. It was a really beautiful process. And so more of it's like an internal process of drawing within what it is that is required to awaken, and to do that work is internally is also assisting raising the collective consciousness. And I feel like right now, part of the work I'm doing is working with children. And working with children, they're coming in very closely tethered to the the light realms and closely tethered to their light beings, and they can still see energetically. They're still powerful clairvoyants, and they're super sensitive. And so a lot of my work is all these children are having nightmares, all of them. And I'm aware that those nightmares are fears. And so what happens is we're here to shine the light, and if we can help these children reawaken and not be afraid, how powerful would we be if we weren't afraid? And how powerful would we be if we all did it in a collective, awaken to our light, ask those light beings, our archangels and angels light, to assist us in being who we really are. And so I feel like being with the children, that's on the forefront of that happening. Like, you cannot work with children and not be on the forefront of the new energies coming in every moment. And it's a beautiful process, and those children are coming in more activated, more awakened in their DNA, more awakened, and every generation is coming in more and more amazing. And so being with these children is just...
Now, is this new, you working with children? Is
I
this
am
something
working
that's...
with children.
And this is something... Did you do that in Los Angeles when you were here?
Not.
No.
So it was guided. It was like it landed on me, and it was shown that Divine Mother was very, much like, this is where you're meant to be, and more than one aspect of the Divine Mother. And just working with children, I just felt a big thing in my crown. We're energetically, encoding the information with these kids with the angelic realm. We're bringing it in, and so how many of us shut down to the truth of who we are? How many of us shut down working with our light beings when we were afraid? When we were, what happened? Our parents said something, we shut it down. I know that happened to me. So a lot of these kids, if we're around somebody that's doing this work, we can help them remember and not shut down. How many kids daily shut down because they were told you're not supposed to see these energies, you're not supposed to be doing that, you're not supposed to be talking with your spirit guides and your angels.
That happened to Rebecca,
Yeah.
actually, too, with your medical intuitive abilities when you were younger.
Yeah, I used to tell my parents when their friends were going to...
Your mic.
I thought I was sitting
I
in
know you
somebody's-
don't like to hold that anymore, but just please lift it up. Yeah, I know that's I know that's a foreign object to you these days.
Oh, boy. I used to tell my parents when their friends were going to die, if they were sick, if they were going to be in an accident, and they would just tell me to be quiet and stop talking nonsense. I even knew that my aunt poisoned my uncle and killed him when he died, and I had everything written down exactly, and they just didn't want to hear it. So I kind of pushed it to the side for a while.
And so as what Misti was asking me is imagine what would happen to the children if they didn't shut down those abilities and they were all open and not afraid to shine who they really are.
Oh, it'd be phenomenal.
And so that's what the angels are essentially, from my understanding of it, when I started working with the angels, they were assisting me in awakening that. And they were like, here, just go out and do it. And so as I'm being propelled forward, I'm like assisting the children. And we're working, as we're all aware, we're working on these multiple levels and working on the astral. And that's something I wasn't aware of. These kids we're showing them things in the astral realm, and it's like super cool doing that work with them because they're already there.
Yeah.
You don't have to show them; they're already doing it.
They already know it. Yeah, it's already encoded. They already know it. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing. It's like when you look at the world, the perspective from everybody in the world, so many people are shut down because they're not in their heart. Like they cannot find the love space that allows you then to find the passion to actually then change the world. And children are already in that space, right? I mean, God, you're lucky, And I think that's the challenge of us moving forward into the ascension of the planet and becoming who we're supposed to become. It's like, how is it that you reach the adults that have been so traumatized and are so wounded, and how is it then that you can really bring them back into their heart? I think that's the question of the day for all the healers. What do you think about that, Stewart?
I'm sure we have interesting responses, right? Well, my understanding is that angels love for the sake of love, whereas we human beings tend to love for the sake of being loved, which is a subtle difference. So in other words, what they're saying is that feeling is the language of the soul, and that what's happened on planet Earth, particularly over the last 500 years, is that we've desacralized Mother Nature, and therefore we've sacralized our feelings. And what we do is we judge our feelings, particularly the darker ones. So what they're asking us to do, I believe, is to become emotionally intelligent about feeling. and to see that actually we're living a duality where, there is guilt and there is innocence, there is hate, there is love, and that list goes off into infinity. But if we can actually find a way of really identifying what the negative states are and then transform them into positive states, we alchemicalize our beings, and therefore we automatically move ourselves into a very quickened, accelerated, shimmering conduct where we feel the light body lift. Just as His Holiness the Dalai Lama would say, well, happiness is a decision, it's not a condition. So we decide that we move ourselves onto a much higher level. And if we can just keep the consistency and the sustainability of what the higher vibration is, rather than going to the pain body, we go to the bliss body, it automatically conducts on a super level all of the energy of light through our beings into the negative responses of the fear body or the pain body, and everything is transcended. It can be really, really fast. You see it in the work of Byron Katie. You see it when Esther Hicks is working. They're working with ETs, they're working with ultra-terrestrial beings, they're working with the angels.
Right, and that I think that's a form of spiritual ecstasy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think
you see, we're actually designed for absolute bliss and abundance, and it's just that our thinking and our feeling keeps taking us back into the pain body. I don't know about you, with the kids, but a number of clients that come to me, and they just want to go through the script yet again, and I'm saying, would you please burn that script, and I'm talking about sometimes really leading healers. They want to come and allow one to be sympathetic, and I get really unsympathetic and say, look, you know what this is about. You've annotated it, you've documentarized it. Now it's a question of really letting it go, because it's not feeding anybody, particularly yourself. So can we just move into the bliss body? I'm making it sound really simplistic, but love is all there is, right? It's actually really simple. And of course we see it with the babies, don't we?
Yes.
Blessed are the children, for they shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. They know how to go there immediately, because they don't like the pain. They want good feelings.
Good feelings.
And that's what we're destined to experience.
And
it's all about having fun.
Well, and that's what we like to do here. Wake up over there, Rebecca Drew. You were mesmerized by his voice, right? It's the vibration of the voice.
It is. I'm very sensitive.
It's like taking her. Yeah,
I'm very sensitive to sound.
Oh my God,
am.
she is so sensitive to sound, and your voice is like.
Because I have huge fire that goes through me, what I do is I just hold my energy in one particular place. But what it does is induce alpha rhythms. And so people go, oh my God, I'm so soothed by you, I'm so calmed. And all I'm doing is purring, right? Just purr, 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 purr. Purr, 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 purr.
But I was also taking into account what you were saying, because
you see, she was awake.
I was. When you are damaged, it would be intellectually, it's very simple to do what you're saying, but emotionally, it isn't, because letting go is not the easiest thing to do. I mean, you want to say it is, but there are triggers.
I don't know about that, you see. I remember a study I did some time ago with Daniel Goleman, when he wrote Emotional Intelligence, which had this huge impact on the Western world. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller. And what Daniel discovered is that he set up an experiment. He was given a load of money by the American Scientific Association, I believe, set up an experiment, interviewed over 10,500 people, which is a real slice of society, and it's a real demography. And what he discovered is, with all the encephalogram equipment, and he interviewed, I believe, people that were white-collar workers all the way down to men and women who clean lavatories, that we think 60,000 thoughts a day, and 50,000 of them are negative. Now that's measured through emotional memory, do you see? So it's a question of, if this information could revolutionize our conducts, we can shift it immediately. But what we love is the drama. We love the pain body. We much prefer to be there than to actually be going towards bliss. So, it's a revolution of conduct. But we must stop loving the pain body. We must let it heal.
For sure. I love the way you say that so eloquently. When we do our work, I mean, that's the one thing when we talk about disease in the body, I think it's from a corrupted emotional state that then stems from a corrupted mental state. And so I think that the way in which to approach it is to always find what is going on in the mind. And then the mind is then going to be able, you can reprogram and repattern those thoughts to create the new emotional state. And that's exactly what you're talking
about. And that's
about.
what Candace Pert's work was all about, wasn't it? The molecules of emotion. Because she discovered that, the human eye, for example, replicates itself completely every 48 hours. And so if the human eye replicates itself completely every 48 hours, why do we have the eyesight problems? Why do we have the glaucoma? And what she did was to research into this fatty cluster around each cell, which is called a neuropeptide. And that's where all the emotion is stored. So if you can rearrange the molecular energy by reprogramming the negative emotion, you've got it. And that's what kids do immediately. Because they don't want to be unhappy. They want to be free. They want to be playing. They want to feel abundant. And they'll just go there straight away.
No, they get trained to be that way. Yeah,
exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I just wrote a big piece about that, actually, how it is inhibited out of us, it's religioned out of us, it's cajoled, it's bullied out of us, it's educated out of us, the belief in the imaginative, the belief in the fact that the universe is an abundant space of eternally evolving well-being. And that's where we're from.
Well, it's religiosity, right? That is what really, it confined us into this prison because they want to control us. I think that's a big part of it, And then on the other side of that is greed and big business, and wanting to make money off of illness as well. I mean, there's so many.
Personal basis, Misty. Okay, look at what I've been going through. Okay, we've been dealing with shame. I had a lot of sexual abuse growing up. I had sexual mutilation. It's a shame-based thing. It's something that I've lived with my whole life. So she brought up shame recently, like get over the shame. But how do you just get over the shame?
What's the opposite of the shame?
If you don't know the joy. And mind you, she helped me.
What is the opposite of shame?
I don't know.
Okay, then that's the stumbling block, you see. Because we don't give ourselves time just to gently reflect on where is the light in the darkness. And there is always light in the darkness. And I could use some, very... So if you know it, then why aren't you being it?
I'm trying.
See, this is not a clever idea. This is an experience. This is about dropping deep into the stillness of what our soul's counsel is all about. And the answer is always there. Babies know it instinctively. I mean, little ones, children, they know it instinctively. So all we need to do is to really tune into... Well, somewhere in the corruption that I experienced was actually the possibility of joy, nirvana, party, ecstasy, whatever we want to call it. And it's a question of rearranging the shame into the celebration of our joy. And then all the sexual problems go, or all the I hated him for what he did goes. And we begin to understand it from a divine perspective, you see. So we understand that it was implicit karma and that we were co-creative within it. There's freedom.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. That's a hard thing for you to share, so thank you. I appreciate you bringing up that. That takes a lot of courage for you to bring that forward. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because we can debate these things, and what I'm trying to do in the world is to say this is not a question of opinions or ideas. This is actually about an emotional experience. So I don't want to sound that I'm opining in a sort of overzealous or grandiose way. It's literally, I'm there at the rock face, and I have been for 40 years counseling people and working with female cancer for 40 years. And so when we go into, like a woman who came to see me the other day, who said, I said, what's wrong, honey? And she started to cry and said, I've just been told I've got terminal cancer. My husband's just left me after 35 years, and my 2 children won't speak to me. And I said, oh, shit's hitting the fan. So what would you like to do? And she said, well, you're going to help me. And I said, help you do what? And she said, well, you're going to heal me. And I said, holy Moses, holy Moses, holy Moses. Let's walk on water. And I said, okay.
Well, if anybody could, you can.
What I will do is to show you your divine blueprint. Now, she's turned it all around. She came on retreat as a finale to Egypt, and then came back. This is 3 months after the diagnosis. Came back, went to see her oncologist, who said, you have no cancer in your body. She's turned the whole thing around. So what was actually happening is that she hadn't allowed her husband to make love to her for 25 years. Wow. She'd conceived the children grew, they were, et cetera, et cetera. So she hadn't actually allowed him to make love. So of course he went off for a mistress. Okay, so she was a control freak about this, because of terrible shame that she had from being partially molested by her grandfather when she was 13 years of age. So we were able to cure that. And then it was a question of, well, why aren't your children talking to you? Well, your children aren't talking to you because you are a control freak. And so you haven't allowed them to be what they want to be, and they are extraordinary. They're both grown with their own families, extraordinary human beings. So we went right back into, well, why do you feel not enough, that you need to control in this way? And of course it was multi-layered, but we simplified the whole thing, and she got it in one and turned the whole thing around. Now, energetically, what was extraordinary is she didn't need to do anything. 4 hours after this transactional process, both children, who hadn't talked to her for 2 years, called out of the blue, saying, Mum, I was just thinking about you. So she was able to redress all of her innovative feelings right there and say, I just want to tell you I love you, and I'm so sorry for being such a bitch. Amazing, amazing. Supernatural healing.
Yeah.
Back to the angels.
Back to the angels, by the way. Earlier, before we came on camera, are you picking anything up? Are you feeling anything? Are you?
There's a lot of energies moving all the time. There's light beings all in the room. And when we were talking,
Orbs.
Full of orbs. She captures orbs all the time with
moving light.
Start taking photographs.
I felt it.
Huge.
Yeah, I've been sitting here falling. I'm falling off. I'm
It's
falling
like
off my
radiating
job.
out. But whenever I look here, it's like.
Right on. Yeah, and she always captures those with her photography as well.
Well, I always have a blue orb and a purple orb wherever I go, but they're up there. When I do Misti, she's got them right around her pelvic area.
And
How lovely.
well, of course, it always is there.
She has
my
two.
spiritual
She
ecstasy
does. She has
spot.
2 blue orbs that just hang around her.
Her love tunnel.
Yes. her crystal cave.
Crystal cave.
Yes.
All that glitters is gold.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yes, I've
or
seen
your money
it.
back.
That's right.
No, but you know, I do make light of healing because I think that there has to be fun in it. I don't think we have to stay inside this box of where we have to dress a certain way, we have to act a certain way, we have to speak in a certain way. And I just, you know, I think that one of the reasons, there are many, but one of the reasons I was born is that I'm here to challenge those belief systems, you know, and then even, you know, Rebecca and I traveling the world with our crystal skull, and I can hear her just yelling at me because we haven't introduced her yet, and she gets really upset when she's ignored. So I'm gonna lift her up because she normally has her own seat when we do the show.
Well, she could sit over here with me on the couch.
For those of you who don't know this beautiful baby who sleeps with me, this is Scully. We affectionately called her Scully, named her Scully. She's been activated by the 13th Mayan skull. And she's also been activated with Shana Ra in Guerneville, one of the 13 original skulls, as well as Mitchell Hedges. And we leave this weekend, tomorrow actually. We're going to Sedona, and we will get activated with Einstein. And you know, the beautiful thing about working with the skulls, it's like, and as I just lose my
Well,
bow,
you weren't
my
supposed
boa,
to. Scully doesn't want
it.
you to be wearing a skull on your shoulder. Scully's the only skull.
What's the mineral of this wonderful skull?
Fluorite.
She's fluorite, and she's
fluorite.
She's fluorite, so she's mental genius. She also
Absolutely.
Full of
clears out
love.
all psychic negativity, and she's opens the heart.
And
So-
she's gotten about 2 pounds heavier since we got her.
Really?
Yeah, she has.
Yeah, believe me, when I carry her, I feel it.
And so what's so cool about her too is when we've done healings, or when I've done healings on people, she actually talks to them, and they will hear her on the table telling them things, and she even talks to them now. There was a woman that we were doing a healing on when we were in Troon, in North Scottsdale. In the middle of the healing, she was like, why is the skull talking to me right now? What's happening? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing this healing right now. Don't talk about it. And she then kept saying, why am I in Toronto? The skull is taking me in Toronto, and we're talking about Toronto. Well, we had just downloaded Scully with the Mitchell Hedges skull, who was in Toronto.
Wow.
So what
Wow,
had
wow,
happened
wow.
is the skulls, when they become activated with one another, they create this loving, healing grid. And then they offer the information necessary to complete the healing.
That's true. I learned all kinds of interesting, intimate secrets about you from when Dan had a healing by you. And Scully told Dan all sorts of things about you that you would never tell anyone.
Scully, you have a big mouth, and you need and you need to stop gossiping about me right now. The secrets are going to come out in the book. Stop. So anyway, I just it's just very interesting how we came about even purchasing one of these skulls and being a part of this kind of incredible chain of light workers.
Yeah.
Who want to see...
But it's an old prophecy that is coming true, isn't it? It's an Atlantean prophecy.
It is an
that
old
you
prophecy.
You would both be gatekeepers to this particular area of the wisdom of Atlantis, which is why we all met up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. I didn't realize that when I read back and I find my voice like you are soothing because I went right down there with him, with him.
That's why I'm just kind
of like he's like because I can be really high energy. Like,
if we had a bed and we were all just lying in bed, it would be perfect for this kind of interview.
I would want to see Sirius up above me though, with Orion's belt and Dog's throne.
Okay, so we'll have an open
Come
ceiling.
to Egypt, we will see it.
See, this was a perfect segue. I wanted to show this flyer, and then you can talk about it as well, because you can talk about how many tours you lead and what it's all about, and let everybody know where they can find you. So. Stewart is doing a resurrection retreat. I don't know if we can get in. We can't get in tight, can we?
I'm going to see if I can find it.
Yeah. All right.
Here, give me that for a minute.
Okay, cool.
I'll come on camera and show
Oh my
God.
So go ahead and tell us about what you do on the retreat and kind of what...
Well, it started many years ago. I mean, the planning of it started many years ago when the angels first came to me in '87. And they started teaching me about the nature of Atlantis, particularly during the final time of Atlantis, the Great Cataclysm, as it's referred to, and how the 12 communities or communions were led in an extraordinary way by 12 priests and priestesses, high priests and priestesses, and that they were all beings of infinite intelligence, so that they were completely plugged into the cosmic mind. So they knew what the disaster, the so-called disaster, was all about, and there was an evolutionary measure, although, of course, the quake that took place through ultrasound and through nuclear fusion was pretty devastating for our planet. The interesting thing is that the Gaia has healed itself, and, of course, light workers over the centuries have helped to heal the Gaia, just as the Gaia has healed the light workers. Anyway, so the 12 priests and priestesses were able to identify which areas of the planet could be colonized so that the quality of force that was held within each communion associated with one of the crystal skulls could be taken. The crystal skulls will be placed in the etheric. They wouldn't be literal in 3D, but they would be taken to these particular areas. And it just so happens that the master or the priest that I connect with is Thoth, which is interesting, in the sense, if you look at my bio, that most of the major opportunities that I've had have always been woven around one of the incarnations of Thoth, particularly the Shakespeare thing, which I did for many years as Master of Voice at Shakespeare's Globe. Anyway, so Thoth said, we are going to take you to Egypt, and you are going to see that this was a major colonization. Through the center of Atlantis flowed one of the largest rivers of the world, which is called the Atla, because Atlantis means they who came from the seas. And through the center of Egypt, of course, flows the longest river of the planet, which is the Nile. And along the Nile, the spine of the Nile, just as in Atlantis. So it really was a recreation of the perfection that was maintained during that extraordinary period. Not that Lemuria, which I believe was existing in the southern hemisphere at the same time, was not living through a perfect state. It's just that the orientation was somewhat different, that's all. And I'm an Atlantean, so I speak about Atlantis. Although, having visited Hawaii 2 years ago, I was suddenly approached by these 3 amazing kahunas who said they had a dream about me. This was in a hotel where these 3 people suddenly appeared. And I looked at them and I thought, wow, what an energy force around these people. And they said, are you Stewart Pearce? And I said, yeah, we had a dream about you. We're now going to take you on ceremonial land and we're going to introduce you to our ancestors because we're going to create a rainbow-like bridge between Lemuria and Atlantis. And no joke, this is what happened. And they took me to 3 separate places. Now, I didn't know who these people were. It was
Just
predestined,
felt my brain just open over here.
So there's the River Nile with these extraordinary soul spots, these sacred temples going along it. And so what Thoth asked me to do is to get groups of people together. It's not difficult to get groups of people together, even though Egypt is going through a revolution for the last 4 years, and to go through these places so that we recognize that each of these soul spots are dedicated to one of the seals or one of the chakras. And so I take people through a guided tour. We do rituals in each of the temples, which are mostly sonic rituals, so that we lift our vibration in tune with the sonic vibration of the space, because the ancient priests were able to spell so much of their reality, both seen and unseen, through sound. And people go through remarkable processes of literally dying to their old selves so that they are reborn to their divine blueprint. So you see, the reality of shame suddenly is transcended by an experience like that. I do believe that the same thing is happening within the great temples of Mesoamerica. It's just that at the moment, what I'm being taught is that the vibration is just slightly higher, which is there to unspell the Egyptians, because it's obvious that when the civilization needed to transit, that the priests who are very powerful in Egypt closed the people down. And now they're beginning to awaken, which is what the revolution is all about. And they're beginning to really respect the ancient antiquities, which you can walk along and think, oh, that's another temple, it's a load of pile of stones, isn't it? But actually, when you go inside, suddenly you are quickened. You really feel that it's an astrogeographical chamber. So in short, that's what I'm doing. It's another way of helping people accelerate their healing, but not through a quick fix. It's an immense pleasure to do it twice a year, but at the same time, it's immensely invigorating for those people that go through the process.
Right. So transformation's happening. Yeah.
And so it's not that I vet people, but I just make sure that the people who come aren't sightseers. That they come to make a pilgrimage, that they're awakened at that time to feel the quickening that the angels can bring to them.
So do you interview people then that are interested?
We have Skype interviews because the people come from all over the world, and depending where I am. If I'm in Los Angeles, if I'm in Paris, if I'm in Berlin, if I'm in Beijing, I interview people, but mostly it's via Skype. And then, I have to say, my darling, I really, really want you to feel appreciated by this telephone call, but you ain't ready right now. So what I'd like you to do is to work on this and this and this and this and this and this, and then in a year's time, let's have another conversation.
Now, how many times do you go?
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Yeah. And this one's coming up, I think
this
I saw
April the 11th to the 21st.
Yes. Okay.
Which, if you want to, you can read about on www.thealchemyofvoice.com. Go to the diary page and all will be well.
Oh, fantastic.
And we will put that information up on our oh God, I forget. I don't have mine pinned onto me. We will put that up on our Spiritual Ecstasy page on Facebook and our website, which is SpiritualXTCenterprise.com.
Oh, for sure. And not only that,
and you both must come.
Well, we want to.
Come on.
But
you must come.
April 11th is coming up.
I mean, so many really high frequency initiates from the States are coming. Oh my God, do we have fun? We have the most amazing time. And what happens, of course, when you get a team of really high-level initiates together is that the ancient mysteries awaken.
They open.
So there we were on Christmas Day in the Valley of the Kings, and I'm looking at the Valley of the Kings, which is a large area, and there's nobody there but us. We go into Tutankhamun's tomb. I have not been in that tomb for 25 years because I refuse to share it with hundreds of people. I suddenly realize that we're the only people there. And so some of the people who are with me, these high-level initiates, are asking me, is that where the secret door is? Because I've been saying for 25 years, there's a door right there. And now they've discovered it through, infrared. Extraordinary things happen. So they're asking me these questions, and a voice behind me says, you know a lot about Tutankhamun, the great master. And I turn around, and here's a security guard in Jelabia who speaks fluent English. They don't. And he's been there as the wisdom keeper for the last 12 years. His father was there for 38 years before him, and his grandfather was with Howard Carter when he opened the tomb. And so we get to play with all of these vibrational mysteries. People come away, their lives are changed.
Oh, completely.
And it's sustainable.
Because you've basically blown their minds in a good way.
Their circuits have been rewired. Yeah,
for
they've
sure.
blown their minds.
Yeah, you have blown their minds. Yeah,
It's,
you've opened, you've awakened
it's a
and
great
opened.
gift.
So have people been able to actually, I mean, obviously you found that dimensional doorway. Have other initiates been able to walk through that dimensional doorway with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, we're working on post-operative processes, post-retreat processes, and designing the next retreat so they have another opportunity of arriving and going to different soul spots with me, which will be called the communion retreat. And I pray that the first one will be held in December.
Okay, December, because that's what I was going to ask you. I know that this is coming up on April 11th is really soon, and
well, it's about 7 weeks away.
What would be the next date to Egypt?
Will be the 12th of December through to the 21st, or the 11th of December through to the 21st, because we're there for the 21st because there's a unique happening that takes place on the solstice every year, where the sun rises to a certain degree and it burns into the sacred chamber of the high altar in the temple of Karnak, which is the largest temple of creation in existence on our planet. And it is the most extraordinary experience to go there in darkness and then to watch the sun lift. And literally it burns. I'll show you later, I've got a photograph on my cell phone. It burns just for 59 seconds and then moves on. And of course, you're surrounded by all the high priests in spirit, and there were like 7,500 beings around us. It is just extraordinary. I've done it twice.
Isn't that like the church in Paris, the Saint Solstice, where they put the obelisk and they have the hole, and that's the moment that happens?
Exactly right. We went to the Saint Sulpice Church in Paris.
Yeah.
We actually took Scully there to contain and seal the meridian that was there.
Right.
Yeah, because that's one of the places where the meridian runs through.
Right.
Through the
and
earth.
that also goes all the way through to the Omphalos. It goes right through to the pyramid at Giza, doesn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
remember
that
that.
was one of our travels. We did the same thing of going to some of the churches to contain and seal the evil that they want to see Armageddon happen, and we believe that doesn't have to be the case, and that's some of the work that we've been doing with Skull.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a wonderful way to spend the day there, though. That experience.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, quite extraordinary, because we literally see that the whole of ancient Egypt and indeed Atlantis was based around the solar deity, and how the light of the solar deity brings in this immense gift that literally burns right into every chakra. Now, there was a moment where I noticed in the astral that these 7,500 monks who were standing with their hands like this and stars, and they were wearing, the priests then were completely shaven, they didn't have any body hair, and they were wearing sort of white calico tunics with gold bands here and golden nails, both feet and fingers. And this very elaborate eye makeup of the Eye of Horus on both sides. Gorgeous. And when the sun hit, they're in unison, in synchrony, all of their energy went vroom, and they had gold suns on their heads to receive through the crown chakra the sun. Oh my God, I was in tears. I was weeping. It was just extraordinary. Yeah. So there are many stories I could go on. I mean, my fourth book is based on meeting the high priest Ai, who was the high priest of Akhenaten and Tutankhamun. But that's another story.
Well, what I would love to know is, how did you realize your gifts? These sacred gifts that you...
That's a good question for both of you.
Yeah, well, it'll be...
How did you realize this?
Well, I wanted... Well, a lot of people either have near-death experiences...
How'd you
or they
realize
have
yours?
And I was born with it.
And
I've also had near-death experiences, but I thought maybe there would be something that you just knew. Yeah.
And we were different, right? I mean, we were different as children.
different and sensitive and highly aware, causing ruckuses with our parents.
But were you also, seeing spirits at a very early age?
God,
and
yeah.
That's all I meant by that. What was, what were you going through? Because
you weren't frightened, were you?
I was actually.
Were you?
I was frightened because I was also seeing the dark ones.
Yeah,
And
oh,
that's
sure.
what happens,
Oh, sure.
and a lot of people
Sure,
get
sure.
afraid and shut down.
Yeah.
And so, it took some years to even get past that. So but now
I just
there's,
think that's helpful for other people when they are trying to discover their own gifts. I think it's important that we speak about ours and how we've come to really own the power that is within us. And
something happened when I remember I was about 6, where I was persistently seeing spirit. And my dad worked for the British royal family, so I was brought up in royal palaces, dealing with very old buildings, right? And, surrounded by beautiful works of art that, of course, as we know, hold vibration. Particularly they've been in collection for the last 500, 600, 700 years.
Right.
They hold a huge force. And I can remember seeing these extraordinary beings were walking through the spaces, often without heads and so forth. So they were obviously, they were held in the astral. But they were always, because they'd been beheaded,
Yeah.
And there were always these amazing angelic orbs that protected me from the darkness. I think that stopped me from. It always meant that I was in awe rather than in fear. But I know what you mean by the darkness. I just had the ability to say, go away.
well, that's something I relearned and
Yeah.
remembered by the help of Archangel Michael and all the other light beings, not to be afraid anymore.
Yes.
And that's something that, after having so many spirits and so many beings come in, still frequently, but then, like you said, just go away, that took some ability to remember. And like you said earlier, the more we've empowered the fear, the more those energies have power over us. And I feel, as you said earlier, those orbs of light are always protecting us, but we can weaken them and forget what they're there for.
Yes.
well, guys, we are having to wrap up, and I just want to thank you so much.
Why can't we just
What
go
a
on?
wonderful- Well, honey, I
getting
want
depth,
to.
right?
When you were talking about the kings in Egypt, I was thinking, oh my God, it's like they all designed for Chanel. But on that note, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for watching us, Spiritual Ecstasy. Stewart Pearce, Philip, Garo, Dorian, Rebecca Drew. Mwah, much love.
Thank you.